Okay, we have our puppy Leon, and now he's 14 weeks, almost 15 weeks. Um, so him and Kavu get along amazing, so that's awesome. And I feel like he's doing well in general, training, all that, health-wise. We know what we're doing even more this time, being our second puppy, but the only thing really that we've noticed so far is this resource guarding thing that kind of just started to pop up. So I think the first time we noticed it, and I mean, I'm not like shocked it's happening because I know it can. I guess I just didn't expect it to happen so early.
Oh, yeah.
But I think the first time we noticed it was like about 2 weeks ago now, maybe even less. But Hosa was petting him while he was eating and like fixing his like collar, which maybe he just probably shouldn't have done. But he had never displayed anything like any sign of being annoyed about, you know, any with toys, with food, with anything. So, I mean, and that was he just growled, and so whatever. I mean, then we were like, oh, a little. I mean, we kind of knew what it was, and it was like that's okay. We'll just train him, drop it. We'll practice, trades, whatever.
Sure.
Wasn't like too worried. And then a couple days later, we were at a puppy social, and it's at a dog training place, so there's a trainer that's there monitoring it, but there was like just a rock on the ground that he started to resource guard, and it wasn't anything crazy, like, but he was very clearly upset at another dog trying to get it from him. And then, I mean, they kind of worked it out, and the trainer was just like, oh, just let them work it out. And then it was kind of over. But she was like, oh, it looks like a little resource guarding. But prior to that, and maybe this is our mistake, like he had been playing with toys with Kavu totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if like that's something I should continue to allow or not. So, and then the third thing was like, I guess the most just concerning just because of his reaction. So now I knew he was resource guarding his food. And so I wanted to practice like either giving him treats while he's eating and eventually working up to a trade of like giving him other food or, different things. Well, because that's just what I read online to do. But he eats raw and and it's a pre-made though for now. So it's just like a grind. So he really inhales it. He eats super quick. So I was like, I need to get him to slow down while he's eating so that there's time to like do these things. So I started to feed him in a slow feeder, and I spread it between two different, like those mats, and you have to lick off of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I had two because of the amount of food he has and just the size of the mats. So this is also probably my mistake, but I set one down and then I set the other down. So while I was setting the second one down, I think he thought I was going towards the first one and he was already eating the first one, So he bit my hand. And it wasn't just like my hand was in the way and he was like, it was collateral damage. He like lunged over at it and bit down.
Okay.
So that was like, oh shit, he's really upset. So then I was like, okay, I need to know what to do. I don't know, because I read all this stuff online and it didn't really seem like the trainer at the social really thought to do anything, but I'm like, I feel like we should. I don't know, so I wanted to ask you.
Sure. The bite that he gave you when he lunged, any punctures or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's healed now, but it was just right here on the hand. And I mean, so if he were bigger, had more jaw strength, was a full adult, that would not be good, I feel, at all. Like, I think just because he's so small, I mean, But he really, yeah,
Okay.
it was
So
not good.
when it comes to resource guarding or just even aggression or these behaviors,
Yeah.
you know, as throughout my years of dog training, my thought process on behaviors has changed a lot because I've
Uh-huh.
learned a lot.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first started, I was in the belief system of, oh, it's the owner, or they didn't put any work into it, or the abuse. Like I was the same as most people.
Yeah.
But I've come across many a puppy now at 2 months already resource guarding because it's just
Right.
genetic.
Yeah.
I had a puppy that was 3 months old by the time I came in and had already bit the husband and the son like 5 times, and these were like bite bites. These were not puppy bites,
Right. Right.
and so definitely, um, this is just how he's wired. Um,
Right. Right.
now, it's interesting just because it did take him a couple of weeks essentially before he displayed that behavior because you got him at 8 weeks, right?
Yeah. So I think he did this. He was like at least 12 or 13 weeks because he's gonna be 15 weeks in a couple days, and this was, I think it was even a week and a, yeah, it was like a week and a half ago. So he was past 12 weeks. We have had him for over a month when he did it, and so
Sure.
I guess I just thought we were on. That's also why it was surprising because, why now? Like, I thought we were on the right track, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
It's
yeah.
nothing that you did wrong. It's
Oh,
just,
I know.
so puppies go through a lot of developmental stages.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people when they get their 8 week old puppy, I remember I had a couple, they had a German Shepherd puppy, and I came in ran at 8 weeks.
Right.
Super quiet, calm puppy. And they're
Right.
like, oh, we love her. She's amazing. She's so quiet. And I'm like, it's only been like a week,
But that, yeah. Well,
you
right.
know?
Yeah. Then they get
So,
out of their shell.
yeah.
Yeah.
So as they develop, as they get comfortable within the home,
Right. Right. Right.
as they become an adult and all that stuff. So I would be surprised as well, but I'm surprised, but not that surprised.
Sure.
Um, now that one with the food, a
Mm-hmm.
couple of things here. It could have been more of a severe, attempt because of the value of the object, right? Because it was his raw and
Yeah, he really, you can tell he's very like obsessed with his food, and I don't, that's probably part of the problem. It's like the good and bad thing of raw that because we started him with just so he could settle in, I guess, just like on the kibble the breeder gave us just for like a week. But then I was like, this is trash because now I feed Kabu raw and I just can't not.
yeah,
So I just switched him, and so he's doing great on it. But yeah, he like, it's a much different meal time. Is like, he clearly, it's a different value for sure. You could tell.
correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
When it comes to the resource guarding at the puppy social,
Yeah,
I don't let dogs sort things out
yeah. I know.
because that's how dog fights start. And
Right.
then two, like, what happens is I understand the logic behind it, but because, there's no better teacher than other dogs.
Yeah, right.
Um, but this is only when I know the other dog.
Yeah.
Okay. So
But
like if because we're looking to get a puppy, so when that puppy is with my pit and my Chihuahua, um, because I know that they correct correctly, I would let them correct the puppy that I know them, right? But I wouldn't let my another person's dog correct my puppy because some dogs go over the top, right?
yeah,
And
right.
I know it's a puppy social, so I'm assuming just all puppies.
Yes.
Um, but like another puppy could already be at a higher level of aggression. Like I
Yeah.
don't assume just because they're puppies that they're going to just sort it out, um,
Right.
because it can lead to a bigger fight or a bigger problem. I always step in. It's think of dogs as 3 to 4 year old kids. We don't
Right.
let 3 to 4 year old kids settle things. The adults do that for them.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. So you're wanting to kind of curb this behavior, right?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Okay.
just because Ideally, I mean, I don't want it, but also because I mean, when we have kids in the house or Kavu being around, I mean, we can control, I suppose, the environment, but I just would prefer that, we don't have to just like always feed him separately and make it a whole ordeal completely. I will never just like throw their dishes down together and say just go fight over who's. I mean, obviously you kind of got to give everyone their space and respect it, but I guess I just don't want to have to go over the top and or risk that, like, if someone who's like a guest is over and they don't realize or something and then they get hurt, I mean, I just,
Yeah.
obviously. So
Yeah. So
and I don't want it to bleed into other things either, I guess. I don't know if that's possible. Like, do you think this would just be towards food, or could he start to resource guard? He could start to resource guard anything, and I don't want that either.
yeah. If it was unaddressed.
Right.
Because I've had that happen where people say like, "Oh, the dog used to resource guard its food, then its toys, then its bed, then the couch. Now, now a room."
Yeah.
Because the more it goes unaddressed, the more his ego grows, and the more he learns like, "Oh, like I'm getting away with this."
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, I the first thing I typically do is what you were doing,
Uh-huh.
which is the trades with puppies.
Yeah.
Okay. Um,
So since he bit me on the hand and I was like, oh, this is kind of serious, I haven't really done that just because I didn't know what to do and I was reading so much
yeah.
conflicting evidence. So I wanted to wait and see what you thought. I figured like, I don't want to make it worse. So let me just kind of, but I also was like, I'm not going to let him perform the behavior again either because I feel like that's not productive. So now I've just been feeding him in his kennel, one dish, set it down, walk away. He's in there. I'm not hovering by him. Kavu cannot be near him at all either, just in case that were to upset him. Obviously, like, so we just are sort of playing it safe for now. But I did start to teach, like, if he has a toy, drop it and I give you treats, or like a leaf outside, something that I can clearly give a higher value reward for. I don't know what will be higher value than his raw food, so I don't know how to trade that. So I didn't know what to do, so I just didn't even approach it yet.
Yeah. So what I would actually do is e-collar.
Okay.
You can start them young. You
Yeah.
can actually e-collar train a 2-month-old puppy, but most people will be like uncomfortable with it.
Sure.
Because the reason why I would suggest you just jump to that is one, the incident around his food
Right.
to a higher degree. Like it wasn't like, puppy resource guarding where they attempt it, but they're just kind of testing what they can get away with.
Right.
And that's why I asked if there was punctures and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That tells me just how intense it is.
Right.
And you can use Kabu's, just pop Kabu's collar on them.
Okay.
And I have, so the tricky thing about resource guarding, okay,
Yeah.
is you can't make him like other dogs or people being within his space when he has something.
Yeah.
Okay? The way I teach it is either if he has something like feeding him the kennel, that's good. Just, whatever.
Yeah. Oh,
If he's at the dog park and has a dog that he's guarding,
yeah.
and I go, well, then you can't have rocks because then there's nothing to guard.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, I mean, I feel like in the future, that's why I also was like, I don't want to go back to this social right now when I don't know what to do yet, because I think the same thing will just happen and it's in the same environment and the same fucking rock is going to be there and they're not going to do anything.
Yeah. So, because I have plenty of dogs right now on my calendar that guard like tennis balls and stuff and sticks.
Yeah.
And I told them, then if your dog can't have a stick with around other dogs, then I don't allow them to have a stick.
Right. So that would have been my approach too, and I guess just for Kavu, I don't know if he ever was around toys with you, but like in our environment at least, he's just not like that. I mean, I don't know that he would like Leon walking up to his food dish. Probably not. I don't know. I've never allowed that to happen. I just probably never would. Um, but with toys and stuff and Kavu, I don't see that. So I hadn't. I
Yeah,
guess
and
yeah,
actually,
Kavu has his issues, but not that. So
yeah. So the when it comes to guarding,
yeah,
it's every dog, like just like with humans, like we all have like things that we care about and we don't care about.
right.
Is one uh with the puppy and Kabu,
Hmm.
because he's been growing up with Kabu, it may be because he trusts Kabu
Yeah,
and is willing to share with him.
yeah,
Now, again, that can change.
right,
Um, but I've had, plenty of clients whose dogs were fine with each other within the home,
right.
but anything outside the home with other dogs, they would guard.
Yeah. So,
And it's
well, what would you do if you had my two dogs? Would you continue to let them to play together, or would you not? Like, would you
yeah.
just?
I mean, if there, there's never a guarantee on how it's going to progress,
Yeah,
right? It's take it day by day. So like you got your puppy, everything was great, and then you notice resource guarding. Now we're here talking about resource guarding,
right.
right? Like even if you would have anticipated it or like tried to like do the trade in the food stuff,
Yeah,
I don't know if you were doing that prior. It
right.
doesn't mean it's gonna actually prevent the problem,
Sure.
because
Right.
again, you could do everything by the book, and you can still end up with the dog with issues.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
um, so yeah, what I would do here is I would just keep an eye. What I would suggest is within the home, you can take precautions, and that would be no toys or anything out if left unattended, or if someone's not there actively, there to
Yeah.
observe.
Right.
And then, if they're fine, they're playing. And then when they're done playing, I put all that stuff away.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Because free access to things can really uh, influence resource guarding, because he can just take something and then just decide, like, this is now mine,
sure.
you know? Um, so I would be more preventative about, or yeah, keeping those things put away.
Sure.
Uh, Now, when it comes to guests and stuff, like thinking long term,
Sure. Yeah.
um, people, especially because Leon's a golden, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. People just make assumptions, right?
Yeah.
And they'll come in and go like, "Oh, you got a golden," and like he's got a stick or something. They go to take the stick, and then he's like, "Bah."
Yeah.
You know, I know not to take anything from a dog unless I can make them relinquish it. I
Right.
don't care what the breed is. I always assume that there's
Right.
going to be an issue.
Right.
Okay, until I learn that there isn't an issue, and then I go, okay, cool. But
Right.
either way, like if I'm always taking something from the dog, there's nothing to say that one day the dog won't think like, hey, I'm tired of you stealing stuff from me. I'm not going to let you do it today.
Right.
So there's always a possibility that something could pop up. But that's
Right.
why I'm always observing and watching. And when I go to the approach and all that stuff, I'm reading their body language.
Right.
Always, always, always.
Well, and on
Uh,
that regard, so like with puppies, I mean, you are kind of doing that a lot. If he picks up a shoe, I gotta take it away or something. So should I be, since we kind of are, I mean, that could be part of what brings it out too. It's like, yeah, we're kind of taking stuff away from you a lot. Should we be just always like trading him every time we try and take something? Is that
yeah,
gonna
if you can,
help?
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Okay.
Have some bowls up, with
Right, all
treats,
around.
whatever that you
Yeah,
actively always have access to.
right.
And ideally, I don't go for the object. Okay.
Yeah.
I bring the food, bring it to the
So
nose,
yeah, let them try and drop it
let
or
them
just
relinquish it, and then you would
yeah.
say drop, and then you would feed, take away the toy or the bone or whatever, the shoe, and
Yeah.
then if you can reward again, like, okay, now I'm gonna put this away.
Right.
Okay, so there's
Okay.
like a two. There's the treat for the release, and then once he releases and you take, then another one for like the reinforcer of like, okay, great, thanks.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. until you can get a reliable drop. Now,
Yeah.
for the higher value stuff,
Hmm.
okay, like um, the food and the raw,
Yeah.
uh, you're correct. You're most likely not going to have something that's going to be of enough value to trade them for.
Yeah.
And if you step into the perimeter, and then he decides like, hey, I don't like you getting that close to me. Now you're stuck,
Yeah.
right? Because he's already pissed off
Yeah.
that you're in this space, and then trying to like reach in with some treats, like like unless he goes, oh, do you have something, and it shifts his mindset.
Right.
Chances are when he sees your hand coming in, he's gonna want to lash out.
Right. 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 Right.
So that's where I do drop with the remote collar.
Okay.
Okay. It's super simple. I actually just posted a video on it recently on my YouTube um, for another client whose dog is a resource guarder.
So
Um,
really quick, what if we do this and we get him, I guess, in a better place? Do you think it's something we'll always have to have? Like, eventually, will we be able to like sort of wean off the e-collar, or will he always need it? That's my question.
um, I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, you if you start it young, because you're
Yeah.
usually starting super early, um, is you'd have a higher chance of like not always needing it. And I don't mean like he's always having it like every time he's eating and stuff. It's just like in the settings where you can't control everything, because that's the main thing is in real life, like you can't control everything,
Right.
right? So if you're at the park and then he guards tennis balls and then someone brings in their tennis ball and he gets a hold of it, like you can't control that because that's somebody else bringing in that object,
Right. Right.
you
Right.
know? So,
Because I guess one thing is just like, I hate, like, it's harder here, I feel that. So we have a dog walker now, and I really like them. And I mean, for Kavu, not Leon yet, but I want to just use the same people with Leon because well, here they call like it's called dog walking, but I mean, it's San Francisco, it's super hilly. Basically, what they do is they pick your dog up and transport them to a park and they play and run around.
mm,
So it's like off leash play. It's not really like I'm
okay,
walking your dog.
yeah.
But so Kavu does that. He's been doing amazing with it, but there's no e-collars in San Francisco. Like that's not a thing here. And like they don't, and there's people that'll even say putting a regular collar on your dog is inhumane. I mean, not my walker, but like just random citizens. They're and it's all like positive only and like, no force-free training. Like, so my walker knows that we had trained Kava with an e-collar, but they're like, we don't know how to use that. We don't know anything about it. And they're nice. They're not judgmental. So they were like, that's fine. But like, they don't use it with Kava because they don't even know what it is. And they also are just kind of like, we don't want to, like, that's mean. And like, we don't need it. And so we're like, okay, we'll try it without. So he's been completely fine. I don't know if that's me being naive though, but I mean, it's been like 7 months of him going now, and he always plays with the same dogs and they go in their own area. So I think it's okay. So anyways, like with Leon, I mean, I also feel it's going to be the same. They're not going to want to resort
Yeah.
to them to use that. So I just I'm not against the e-collar at all. I mean, now that I've used it, but I just know like my environment's not conducive to it, so I want to try and not need it, I guess, if that makes
That's
sense.
up to that's Leon's, because um, you're letting the environment dictate how you approach it.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know what to do because if I'm not there, I mean, I tried to look for a trainer or a walker that knows e-collar and I just never found one. So if I needed to use it, I guess I just don't even know what I would do with Kavu because I mean, now it's like COVID and we are working from home all the time. We don't really need him, but before we were relying on them to let him out and take him. Yeah. So I guess it's just kind of like I don't know what I would do if I felt he did need it again. I mean, we still use it sometimes, like, and if we're walking him and we want to do something more, like we're in a new environment, we think he
Oh,
might
sure.
need it. Of course, we still use it. Um,
Well, that's why I say, I was like, when you need it, you have it.
yeah, exactly.
Like
But I guess,
for the puppy,
yeah,
um, it's because, like I said, you can only do the trades for so many things.
yeah, I know. I
The
mean,
other thing is, let's say you're out with him, maybe at a restaurant or something, and someone
right,
drops
yeah,
food, and because this actually happened to a client
right, right,
like 2 weeks ago. Their dog
yeah,
got a hold of plastic, like a little piece of plastic,
yeah,
and the husband went to go take the plastic from her, and she bit him on both hands.
yeah,
You
right,
know, but it was one of those like, oh crap, she's got something. We need to
right,
get it.
right,
So
right,
he
right.
rushed
So
in.
I would definitely use that for us. I guess I just think I know that they won't. I mean, he's not going to be going with them anytime in the immediate future because he's still too little and I want him more trained for sure before he's off leash. But
I would just ask him, just tell him like, hey, come the time, Leon
yeah,
had some resource guarding issues in the past. Like he'll guard a rock,
yeah,
because it's one thing if a dog guards a tennis ball or guards, just food, because then you can just go like, hey, no tennis balls and no treats or whatever, because he's
right.
gonna
I mean, I know they don't do toys with their group anyway just because they play with each other. They don't need to throw toys in there. I know that, but um yeah, a rock is kind of hard.
Yeah, no, I mean it happens.
Right.
It's dog logic.
Right.
So I'll just tell them. I'm sure they have their, a means of avoiding or approaching it, or whatever.
Sure.
My only concern would be as he gets bigger, like you said, that bite he gave you, had he been a larger dog,
Yeah.
would have been worse.
Right.
Right.
So
So yeah. So I'm evaluating the behavior.
yeah.
He's a 14-week-old, 15-week-old puppy, but I'm taking that behavior and I'm applying it to an adult dog.
Right. Right. Right.
You know. So
Yeah.
the exercise is simple in terms of the remote collar.
Yeah.
We're, I would just use it to empower. What is going on here? I would just use it to empower the word of drop, because you have the trade system, right? Which I'm encouraging and say, yes, continue with the trade
Okay.
system.
Right. Right. Right.
But then when it comes to something more um, of a value, because we have to think, what if we're out and he gets another rock or another stick and we need
Yeah.
to take it from him and we have nothing to trade,
Right.
right? Is that the e-collar will simply make what you say mean more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Right.
the way I layer in as with anything else, we always start super low. Uh,
Right.
so I'd start if you're using Kabu's collar, I'd start at 10,
Yeah.
then 12, then 14. And what you're trying to do is get Leon to back away from the object. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't need him running away scared. I need him to back away from the object.
Right.
Okay. Because when he backs away, he's disengaging.
Okay. Right.
Because so when we say the word drop, most people just say drop and the dog spits it out and they'll pick up what the dog spit out. Okay. I don't do that. Drop is spit out what you have and
Yeah.
move away.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Because if he drops it and you go for it and he's still intent on it, he's gonna
Yeah.
bite again.
Right. Right.
So you it's not just like, hey, drop that. It's you need to give space as well.
Right. Um. So how do you? He'll just kind of do it. Like, I mean, I
Yeah.
tap
So,
him, I say drop it and I tap him and then I just, is it the same logic? Like if he doesn't move away, you just keep tapping until he does?
and bump it. That yeah. So like, you know, I would start at 10
Yeah,
and um, you make sure we have connection. So you probably see something like this. Okay.
right.
And when you say drop, like, and he doesn't even need to have it, by the way.
Okay.
Okay. So what I could do is I can take him, leash him up, tether him to like a pole. Okay. Just for
Sure.
example,
Yeah.
put the food bowl down to where he can barely get to it.
Okay.
He's just at it.
Yeah.
I don't come in to piss the dog off.
Right.
Most people think you come in, piss the dog off, and then you do it. I don't do that. We don't
Yeah.
need to. You could be across the room, and then you would say drop and just start tapping and bumping it until you see him move away.
Right. Right.
So with e-collar and behavior, when you're trying to teach the dog to do something, you have to layer it in.
Right.
Okay. When you're trying to teach a dog not to do something, you simply use the remote till the dog stops the behavior. So
Mm-hmm.
really what you're doing is stopping the eating, right? But
Yeah.
you're stopping the eating, but he's gonna back away because he's going, what's going on?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So like
What if
uh
he just eats faster and then he's like done? I think I'll have to feed him in slow, like some kind of slow feeder for sure, because like he inhales his food in like two gulps. So I mean,
yeah,
he could lose the opportunity that he would think, oh, I'm just gonna eat faster, and then I would be screwed because we'd be out of food and he wouldn't, you know. So I
sure.
guess I would definitely want to make sure that he doesn't get to the chance to eat it all, right?
Right.
And you
So
wouldn't want to do it at the end of him eating or something where you would, because if he did eat it all, like that would be not
do
productive.
you do you guys play tug with them at all?
Yeah, I mean, he also does it a lot with Kavu, so I know he likes it, so we could do it more.
Okay. Because I'm trying to find an exercise where you could do it repeatedly, especially if he's that fast of an eater.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
would it work with like a ball or anything, or just another type of toy that he really likes that I know he'll.
yeah, I mean, the reason why I say the tug is
Well,
because
yeah,
if I'm playing tug with him
yeah,
and I tell him to drop and he's holding on to it and I'm holding on to the other end,
yeah,
um, I can keep him engaged until he releases.
yeah,
But if I throw the ball, and he drops it before I get a chance to, I need something where he would be engaged for a moment so that I can get him to disengage.
yeah. Good point. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I think
So
we'll be into it. I'll try that. Yeah, that's a good idea.
the other thing that I teach with resource guarders is default behavior of whatever's on the ground is not theirs.
Yeah.
Okay, so um, I recently worked with a dog, and I told her everything has to be off limits as default.
Hmm.
So if I drop a piece of turkey, because what could happen is in the future you drop a piece of food, Kavu and the puppy go for it at the same time.
Yeah, and
That's
fight
gonna
it.
be that's gonna be a problem.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think we abide by that with Kavu. We always did, and he can't just go lunging after food, and he has to wait when we set his food dish down till we say okay. And I mean, I can make him wait there for minutes on end, like at this point, and no e-collars on or anything, and it's just we worked up to it. So I was going to do that with Leon. That was my plan, and I guess I would assume, I would like to think that that all would sort of help too. I don't know if it actually does, but in my mind, it's just like kind of like impulse control. I don't know if that's really real. That's just what
Part
I
of
think.
it.
I'm not a trainer, but you
Yeah.
know, um,
Impulse control is important with every dog.
Yeah. Um, so for that though, I mean, how do you actually teach that? Or you'd have to have the e-collar on always? How would
Oh,
you?
sure, sure. So yeah, to answer your question about will the e-collar always be needed, right?
Yeah.
Within the home, in the past when I've worked with clients, they'll work past it,
Yeah.
um, because it's you practice it the most within the home,
Yeah. Right. Right.
right? Um, but outside, like if they took their dog to the dog park, they'd have the collar present.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
I'm going to send you this video that I did. The dog's name is Harley, and the lady brought bacon,
mhm.
and I just dropped bacon on the ground. And the moment the dog goes for it, I just tapped the dog, and the dog walked away.
Oh, I see. So you're like practicing.
Yeah,
You would have a little like session where you would collar them up and practice purposefully dropping things, and then okay.
right. And then
Um,
once you get that foundation down, you'd want to make it more realistic, where
yeah.
randomly you just drop something on the ground. But we taught her dog to completely leave. Like
Yeah.
where those dogs would come in and investigate, her dog would completely leave
Right.
because her dog and another dog went after a treat in the courtyard because somebody dropped treats, I think
Mhm.
it was, and then there was a fight there.
Mm.
So I'm trying to prevent that. I'm also trying to prevent if someone came to your home and dropped something
Well,
and
right.
they went to reach for it as the puppy goes for it, again, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah. Um, okay. So now I'm conflicted though because I guess I also what is your feeling on like I don't think it's good for him to rehearse a negative behavior, but if we can't reinforce it, then it's like if
Then
you can't what?
I avoid it.
Right. Well, okay. So, but now I'm like, well, what do I do? Because we're signed up to go to just an in-person puppy obedience class, which I do want to do with him because, I just feel like I don't know. I just
Yeah.
think it's a good thing to do, I guess. And I found I mean, there's not many running in person, but were signed up for an in-person one. And I like this trainer and my dog walker recommended him, but I know that they're a positive reinforcement.
Well,
So, I mean, they're not like, and I don't know the structure because it hasn't started yet if they're going to let all the dogs interact at the end or anything like that. But if he were to start like resource guarding, but they're not gonna like I will get kicked out of the class if I come with an e-collar on him. Like that's not a thing. Like
you don't need to take it.
so what?
So you don't need to take it.
Well, I don't. But then what happens if what's the next best thing if he starts to resource guard again in the class or at a social and we don't have an e-collar and we don't, I mean, what would you do then if you couldn't use an e-collar, what do you do?
I would be aware of if I go into the room, right?
Yeah.
The trainer says at the end of class for the last 15 minutes, we're gonna have a puppy social.
Yeah.
Okay. And I see a big rock,
Yeah.
then I would either one, not allow him near that rock to where he would begin guarding it.
Yeah.
Two, uh, if he tries to go near the rock, call him or do some kind of recall, which you may
Yeah.
not have yet because they're just starting training.
Yeah.
Or three, I don't stick around for the social because I'm trying to avoid the problem.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
So
really just there's there's no perfect answer.
yeah. No, I know. But I
Uh,
want to do the best. Like, I just want to, I guess, do the best I can. There's no perfect answer for like our training style in general in this fucking city. Like, I've learned that with Kapu, but we're just kind of doing the best we can. But, you know, so
yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's an e-collar trainer somewhere.
yeah, there's got to be somewhere, but it's I mean, it's like, insane how frowned upon it is and just how crazy. I mean, also we can do what we do, but another thing, and this is a whole other like rant, but it's like, then you get dogs where a dog will run up to you when you're walking in your own neighborhood, no leash, no collar, no owner, but it's not a stray, and then they start doing whatever they do, and then literally 3 minutes later an owner comes around the corner, and it's like, oh, nice of you to show up.
There's
Just how it is here, which is irritating, but we manage. And Kabu's gotten better, I feel, anyway, with unfamiliar dogs. So,
good.
but
Um, I'm looking up right now. There's a
I found, I think, one in the East Bay, and um she did not have, I think it was a she, didn't have any like availability to do well, and like she was just a trainer too. I guess it wasn't like, I don't really need a trainer per se. I also need, like, a walker and someone that can stay in our home or board them somewhere when we go out of town, like that kind of thing.
yeah.
There's no like canine perspective basically, which sucks.
Is there how far are you from LA?
Far, like 6 hours.
Oh geez. All right.
Yeah.
Because
So
there's a trainer that has a location in LA. Um, but I
yeah.
you're starting young,
Yeah.
okay? I can send you this video so you can so you can see what I'm talking about.
Right.
And you just do what you can do given the environment.
Yeah. Right.
If and then talk to your trainer. Tell him like, hey, like, you know,
Yeah.
um, I'm how to say, I'm open-minded. It's a young puppy, but I've seen this before, and that's why I was asked for punctures, all that stuff, because I'm thinking, if this
Yeah.
continues to happen, what's it going to look like when the dog's full grown? Is chances are they're probably not going to have a ton of answers, but
Yeah.
tell them like within the setting, if my dog displays resource guarding behaviors, what should I do?
Right.
Right? Because what I tell you and what they tell you, because it's their business.
Yeah. Right.
Because I'll come in and correct the dog myself
Right.
and make him relinquish the object. I have no problem with that. But if I tell you that and then you try to do it at the class and then they're like, oh, now you can't be here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Oh, and what is your thoughts too about is there anything behind, like, when Leon goes through what they call like the second fear period that will come, like, and him, I mean, there's no problem using the e-collar when they're like sort of developing like in that way or anything like that?
I have never in my life of training had any of that stuff have an effect.
Okay.
Like the fear period, in my opinion, in the fear periods and stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
the only thing that I've seen, which is pretty consistent, is that a lot of puppies at 6 months or a year, if they're attacked or there's something traumatic that happens, usually it's like a light switch, and the next day all of a sudden the dog has issues.
Yeah.
And it's right around the 6 month mark and the year mark. Super common that
Yeah.
I've seen.
Well,
Um,
yeah.
when it
6 months
comes,
when Kabu started to get reactive, so yeah.
because the way we're layering in the collar isn't like we're not blasting the puppy.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, start at 10. Like that's probably the lowest you're gonna get a response from.
Right.
And we're not looking for him to like jolt back. We're looking for him to like kind of just back away. And as
Yeah.
soon as he backs away, everything goes away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
So he's learning how it works.
Mm-hmm.
If I say drop, this sensation goes off. When you back away from the object and surrender it, the sensation goes away.
Sure.
So then that's how the puppy processes. You
Yeah.
know, I think the issue is people put too much emotion into
Yeah.
puppy raising, and dogs don't bring in emotion.
Yeah.
If the
That's
puppy gets out of line, the mom just corrects them, and it is what it is.
right. 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 Right.
Yeah. So humans put too much emotion on it. I've corrected loads of puppies throughout my years, and they're all fine, well-behaved dogs, unless like it was already apparent that there was a screw loose.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah. So I think he'll respond well to it, just knowing, I mean, because he is a very confident dog, but not like over. Oh, sorry. There's painters at the neighbors, which is very disturbing. Habu, it's okay. Um, one sec.
Uh,
Come here. Okay, sorry. They're painting the house next door, so they're like, and our house is like touched, so they're like climbing on our roof, and it's very,
oh, sure.
I mean, it is disturbing, so he hates it.
Sure.
Anyways, so, Leon, yeah, he's very, he is really confident. I feel like he's not, I think he's like everything you would want to see in a dog other than this issue. So I can tell so much, like, whereas Kavu was always like a shy and fearful puppy more so than I even realized now that I have Leon. And then I think, you know, he got his basically fear-based reactivity, and Leon's not like that. So I hope that's like good and that will help, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I don't know.
kind of
But
getting the full spectrum of things, but in terms of like you said, now looking back, you can tell the difference between, you know,
yeah.
so that's why there was a client right now. I'm doing Zoom lessons with her puppy,
Uh-huh.
and then she mentioned something to me, and I'm like, it sounds like you have a nervous puppy. You know,
Right.
she'd only had the puppy 3, maybe 4 weeks, and I
Right.
was like, yeah, that's not normal. Sounds like a nervous puppy, this and that. Then the
Right.
puppy got dropped off to my daycare for a puppy head start, and
Mm-hmm.
sure enough, I saw a lot of like behavioral issues.
Sure.
It's just genetic stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But because I've seen, I don't know, hundreds of puppies throughout 10 years.
Yeah.
I know what a balanced puppy looks like, you know, confident puppy,
Mm-hmm.
a fearful, nervous puppy, and all that stuff. It's
Sure.
really play it by ear. You know, don't worry about what you've not seen yet, but just know that he is a resource guarder.
Right.
And
Um,
then not just like working with it, but then planning ahead because
yeah.
even though you can do all the precautionary measures and stuff, like things can still happen.
Sure. Um, I remember too you mentioning that like if a dog is behind a gate or a barrier, or like we have a playpen right now sort of for Leon, but he's almost outgrowing it, but we'll use probably like baby gates. You know, we still keep him sort of confined to certain areas. Is there anything behind like guarding behaviors and like being behind a barrier? I just remember you saying, because we had like Kavu would always get reactive if he was behind a barrier and someone approached, which I see like the logic behind that. But is there anything with like guarding stuff and barriers to like know
Um, there
about?
can be,
Okay.
you know, but you know, if he's used to Kabu being within the home, like it's not so much that
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider that really a barrier for him because he's been used to that since you know the first day you got
Okay.
him
Yeah. Yeah.
with
Okay.
Kabu. But if somebody brought in another dog potentially, or are you guys like in a single family home with the fence?
Yeah, we are.
Do you
Yeah.
have a yard with the fence?
Yes.
Okay. So like I would, you know, potentially if they're in the yard running around and someone walks by with their dog, you might see some guarding behavior.
Yeah.
Um, doesn't mean that he would reinforce it to the degree like that he reinforced the food.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's he's just doing his job and being territorial.
Sure.
Doesn't necessarily mean he'd actually bite for that though,
Right.
because he's not guarding an object; he's guarding the home. So it's still
Right.
guarding, but different.
Okay. Right. 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 Okay. Cool.
Anything else?
Um, no, I mean, I feel like I'm just gonna try this stuff and then, I mean, do you feel like if we need more help, would it make sense to do this again, or do you think I should try and actually find the right in-person trainer here? Or I mean, I feel like this is helpful, so I think we can do it
It,
virtually,
it,
but
yeah, no, it's simple to do because
yeah.
it's very simple. Um, so it's not that it can't be done. I'm just thinking what would be best. So what I'll do is I'm gonna send you this video
Mhm.
In the second half of the video, you see me work with the dog on default, the default behavior of things that fall on the ground are not hers. We also put a boundary to things where if I gave her a piece of bacon, I had to say
Yeah.
okay
Yeah.
before we actually eat it.
Okay.
And then
Right.
the release command of drop. Okay.
Okay.
So those three things kind of covered her basis for if anybody ever drops anything, we don't have to worry about it. When we put boundaries behind things and don't let dogs just take things without permission, because that can fuel resource guarding.
Yeah.
Um, and then the drop command, so that if she ever had anything and we needed her to release it, we had that cue. Now this does take time, okay?
Mhm.
Because you have to practice and practice and practice and practice
Right.
until eventually it's applicable no matter what the setting is,
Right.
okay? And then it's being proactive about, if you're at the park and then you see, a rock or whatever, and he doesn't have the collar on, you would either call him or,
Yeah.
get him away from the object. Uh,
Yeah.
without confronting him, because if you try to confront him and you trigger the whole resource guarding moment, then it's going to get tricky.
Yeah. Right.
So
I
I
mean,
don't
we
look at it
don't
as
really do random dog parks too much anyway. Well, really at all, actually. So with especially just with Kavu. I mean, not with Leon yet anyway, but with Kavu, we don't really. I feel like dog parks are kind of like you just too many unknowns, and like if you don't know, I don't know.
yeah,
I
no,
don't
for
do
sure.
'em. And
Yeah,
then Kavu, I mean, I wouldn't. He's good with his little pack at his with his walker, but I don't know about strange other dogs, so I don't really do that. And I couldn't. I mean, no one would play with him if we had the e-collar on. Like they won't. Like your own like people have yelled at us and made comments when we're walking down the street with the e-collar on him. Like
oh
they
really?
yeah, they will get away from any dog and they will literally like try and report you and like it's like
What is that?
yeah, I
Jesus.
don't it's really bad. It's really bad.
In Europe, because in Europe they're banned.
Yeah, it's kind of like that
Crazy.
here.
Hmm.
So it's bad. I don't know if I think the rest of California would be better, but for SF is just crazy. Like I said, there's an entire community of people that think putting a leash on your dog is inhumane. It's like that's called safety.
Do they not have leash laws?
No.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
I wonder
it's
what their incident rate is like
I
over
mean
there.
you can like SF is just crazy. You can walk around this city fully nude and people do. Like it's a whole different world over here. It's yes, it's crazy. So, it's not a great city for a dog that's not super chill because any kind of training or structure you want is totally frowned upon. So, anyways, yeah,
Interesting.
um, it's been kind of hard in that sense, but I also just don't care. I mean, we don't let it bother us really, so whatever.
Yeah. No, it's I mean, I've had
But like,
clients be approached in the past, but nothing like, maybe a handful of them in
yeah,
terms of training.
I don't think like our neighbors would ever let Kavu go around their dogs. Like you can tell they shy away because they just think, oh, they're putting a collar on him. So the one, they think we're like weird and cruel, and two, they're like he must be psycho. So it's like kind of sad, but whatever.
That's weird. I can't imagine that.
Yeah, it's hard. I feel, but it's also sad because I'm like, there's got to be other dogs or people who have issues that I have had or something, and they feel like there's nowhere to turn because everyone here just tells you, no, it's positive only, positive, positive reinforcement. Just give them more treats, just be more nice, just talk in a happier voice, and that's it. Like that must be so frustrating if positive reinforcement doesn't work for you and you feel like there's nowhere to turn other than like I said that one person I found that I think does e-collar.
Um, so
So
interesting. I wonder what their shelter return rate and all that stuff is like.
I know. I don't know. Yeah, it's sad. I mean, there's a lot of dogs around here. It's one of those cities where they say there's like so many dogs per capita. I don't know. There's tons of dogs. Um, I don't know. I feel like a canine perspective would get completely obliterated by the other dog trainer communities here, but there also would probably be a ton of people that could use you. It's like sad that there's no option. It's just like, why do we have to do things only the one way?
Yeah, no,
So,
it's crazy. I didn't know that. I would assume there's at least one trainer
mm,
in like every city that does. No, actually, you know what? Because in Austin, Texas, it's the same thing there. There's only like one
yeah.
trainer that does e-collar in all of Austin, I think, because it's
Yeah.
all really positive over there as well.
I was looking into trainers and I was told by a person at the trainer at the puppy social not to use one guide just because he had once used a prong collar on a
Mm.
dog and they had seen that and they were completely freaking out over just that. And it's like, oh God. So it's weird. I'm glad I have like your perspective though. Say if we were new dog or puppy owners here,
Yeah,
and we didn't know like about you or or like the other perspective, it would be I'm just grateful we know that this is ridiculous instead of thinking it's the only way,
yeah. No, I
like a
mean,
cult, like positive reinforcement cult.
yeah, no, I mean, it is just like that, and they're
Yeah.
oblivious to how ineffective the methods are when it comes to more severe issues.
Right, right.
But it is what it is.
Yeah. But
So I'm gonna send you this video.
okay.
Watch the video before doing anything with the puppy, just to
Yeah.
get an idea of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Continue with the trade system for the things
Okay.
that you can trade for,
Right.
um, and then figure out what you can use to allow you to actually work consistently with the puppy to teach the drop command with
Yeah.
the collar. And it's really just like repetition, 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 repetition to make it as reliable as possible. Hello? Sorry, did I cut out
Oh,
there?
it's okay. Would you recommend going to different environments
To practice?
to practice? Like, so you're practicing it in different contexts eventually? I mean, start at home, but then eventually you want to practice it like in other areas?
In areas that would be applicable to you, you know. Um, I mean, the tricky part is because your environment, like you said, if you take them like one, you don't really do dog parks, so I don't feel like dog parks would be realistic.
Needed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, you know, but then if you took them to like a restaurant and then you have the collar on them, then there's that whole
Yeah.
there, right?
Yeah.
So I would first start with the home and then see what happens.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Um, and just keep an eye on everything else.
Yeah.
Then we'll just play it by ear, and I'll see if maybe I come across anybody in your area.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I'm sure you did your research, so
Yeah, sure. And then one last quick question. Uh, do you kind of just know when it would be okay to try to do it without the e-collar? Like once say we are out and we know we've been practicing it and we feel like, okay, we think he's gonna respond well, so let's try saying it, but we know, we don't have the collar with us, so we know we can't reinforce it in that way. I mean, because I'm always now I'm like I don't want to try anything and risk getting bit again or
right.
anything like that. So how do you know when you're sort of like ready to
When you can say drop and he just like that,
with like 10 out 9 10 out of 10
no
times?
questions asked, like right away, boom, just does it.
Yeah,
You know, that's when I go, okay,
I
feel
can use
pretty
it
good
in
about.
the wild, kind of.
Excuse me.
I can use it like in the wild then without having the.
Right. Yeah. That's why it has to be very
Yeah.
fast.
Okay.
Fast, but then he also has to give space.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but that's why I said it. This is going to take time. It's going to be a
Fine.
lot of repetition for you
Yeah,
to get it to be that reliable.
that's fine. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
So I'll get you that video, and if you have any questions, you let me know, and
I
then
will.
we'll follow up with you with an email. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kenzie. Take
Yeah.
care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.